Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Wednesday, August 9th, 2017, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front, down over there in Asia. Nikkei down a good bit, over 1%. Remember, go to boom bust on RT, and here I am on August 8th, 2017, talking about Japan. So no surprise, and you can see where this is going, particularly with Abenomics turning more into Ponzenomics. Over there in Europe, markets are down there too as well, with CAC and DAX, boop, down over 1%. Here in the States, the Dow is down over 80, closed down a bit, NASDAQ down a bit, oil up a bit, gold up a lot. So what's going on? Well, the big news, of course, is North Korea. President Donald Trump warned North Korea on Tuesday about facing fire and fury if North Korea delivers more threats against the United States. Remember, this is a country with a GDP around the size of West Virginia. The sanctions they put on them, they're going to hurt a third of their foreign revenue, which is $1 billion, a total of $3 billion. This is a nothing little country. Again, just to put it into perspective, people like Billy Gates, worth what, about $86 billion? Zuckerberg over $50 billion, Bezos, Buffett's. Look at the numbers, these guys, 70, 60, almost $100 billion. And this is an entire country whose foreign revenue is $3 billion, and you're threatening them? And they haven't invaded anybody. They don't like the cat who's running the show, don't like what's going on over there. Stay out, mind your own business. I don't go into bad neighborhoods. Stay out of bad countries. It's the United States provocation that nobody wants to talk about in the American Presstitute media that is driving this, with the massive military drills they're doing with South Korea off the peninsula and North Korea's shores. Imagine if North Korea, China, were up in Canada and Iran, out in the East Coast near Newport News, and Russia down in the Gulf of Mexico. Imagine. Yeah, I can tell you what'll happen. Well, they came into our 12-mile limit and we had to blow them up. Yeah, that's what you'd hear. And you know what that would be? It would just be more.
That was bullshit.
And that's all it ever is, because the defense stocks went up on the good news, man. Yeah, more war talk. Anyway, that's what Eisenhower warned us about, the military-industrial complex, robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the labors, and the future of the children. Hey, you don't believe me? Here in New York, it's another wonderful day down in New York City. Yeah, day in Calcutta when you take the subway. Packed trains create cascade of peak delays. We're talking stuff over 100 years old. An antiquated system. But we got wars to fight and peoples to kill, I told you. Yep, it turns out the route, the Lexington Avenue line in New York City, is regularly failing to meet its train schedules, especially during rush hour, leading to dozens of trains being canceled every day, and on and on and on. The whole nation's rotting, and we got a bunch of freaks that have been running it now for decades. You call them your Republicans and Democrats. I call them the Bloods and the Crips, murderers and thieves, slimy little boys and girls. Anyway, moving on to economic news. Productivity in the second quarter rose 0.9%, more than expected. Gain of 0.7%. Mortgage applications rose by 3% last week. boosted by a drop in interest rates. When interest rates go up, boom, zam, bop, dop, the economy goes down, only pumped up with cheap dough around the world. Look at that Abenomics I was talking about. Imagine buying a 10-year government bond, paying you nothing. Who would do anything? That guy like you. I'm going to sell you a bond. Loan me the dough. In 10 years, I'll pay you back with nothing, no interest. You're giving me the money because you like me. I'm a nice guy. The government's buying these things. The whole thing is a fraud. Anyway, and again, the interest rates, when they start going up, and I mean more than another 0.25%, they have to go up a bit, you're going to see a big slowdown. Gold. Gold went up. It was at a 2-week low, just hit a 2-month high. And because of what's going on over there in North Korea. And again, gold is that safe haven asset. It's not only North Korea. Look what's going down in Venezuela. You got Brazil. You know, tough times over there in South Africa, one place after another. Not to forget the murder in the Middle East, brought to you by the beheaders in chiefs, the Saudis. The United States keeps selling hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons to slaughter other people. Oil. Oil rose because inventories went down on the crude side, but gasoline inventories went up. Again, we're in that trading range. Nothing more, nothing less. Global growth, again, the trading range is picking up. OECD says the U.S. is set for steady economic growth. UK and Russia appear to be heading for a slowdown. And overall, they're looking at global economic growth of 3.7% in the 3 months to June, up from 3.2% in the first quarter. In the United States, the leading indicator for the U.S. was unchanged at 99.7 for the third straight month. A reading below 100 indicates growth that is slower than normal. Hey, so I'm not really good at math, but I think 99 is less than 100. So growth here is basically flat. On to some other news. Here we go. The markets, the markets. U.S. blue chip profits surged despite stagnation of Trump reform push. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. Had to keep going after Trump every day. Trump isn't my kind of guy, but this is disgusting, the hatred that the Presstitute media keeps building against him. And don't call it a liberal media. They're fascist, neocon, prostitute, low-life suck-ups who get paid to put out by their Washington Johns and their corporate whoremasters. So, infrastructure repair, tax reform, and deregulation has not happened under Trump, but the markets are going up because U.S. blue-chip companies are poised to report the first back-to-back quarters of double-digit earnings growth since 2011, with 87% of companies in the S&P 500 reporting their earnings for the past quarter. A blend of actual results and analysis forecasts indicate that earnings rose 10.3% per share year on year, according to FactSet. Okay. 5 things the U.S. earnings season taught us. Little story here in the Financial Times. Here's what's driving the market up. Information technology, energy, fiscal services. Between them, they account for more than 70% of the growth in earnings for the S&P 500. We look at technology and we see well overvalued shares. We look at energy. Energy stocks went up because of the latest boost when OPEC decided to cut back on how much production they were going to put out for sale each day, cutting it back 1.8 million barrels a day. But that hasn't gone anywhere, but it boosted profits temporarily. And the other one, of course, financial services, because the banksters could still go out and steal all they want, and nobody stops them from doing dirty deals. But then you look on the consumer end, and it ain't so good. So, moving on to, that's number 2, the consumer market isn't doing so great. Number 3, the weaker dollar. That's right, companies in America are selling their stuff because it's cheaper to buy with countries with currencies that went up as the dollar went down. And the dollar's down now some 7% this year. Again, it was up when Trump got elected, but since they've been talking him down, they've been talking the dollar down with it. And number 4, expectations of corporate tax reform are already influencing corporate decisions, and that's true, because we're going to get some kind of corporate payback, and you're going to see it happen. So that's what's driving the earnings season. And number 5, Trump is not as popular as he used to be. Well, it really has nothing to do with anything. But when you put it together and you see the lower dollar, surprise German exports fall stirs debate over strong euro. German exports fell in June, sliding 2.8% between May and June, the biggest fall since August 2015, and sparking debate over whether the Eurozone's recovery could be hindered by the region's increasingly strong currency. So the dollar's going for about, it's $1.18 now to the euro. And you go back to the Goldman Sachs gang, they said it was going to be a parity. Just didn't happen. So not everybody gets it right, and not everybody gets it wrong. But you can see where it's going. And I want to stay on this a bit with, again, to drive home the point about earnings. There's the gap, generally accepted accounting principles. That's what they're using now. But when you look at the ROIC, return on invested capital, measuring what they invested and the return they got on it, you don't see a 10% return. You see about a 4 to 5% decline over the last periods that they're talking about. So it's how you rig the numbers, and they're good at rigging numbers, just like they are good at starting wars and lying to you about it. Hey, everybody hates Iran. All the stupid people have no knowledge of the history of what the United States did to overthrow the democratically elected government of Mossadegh in 1953. And of course, the toilet paper of record, the Cartoon News Network, MSNBC, more of the same BS. Yeah, they don't report this story. A tiny story that came out today in the Financial Times. Here it is. Britain pressed U.S. to help topple Iranian Prime Minister in 1953 coup. That's right. Britain reportedly asked the U.S. in 1952 to join in a coup aimed at toppling Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, according to newly declassified State Department documents. The top secret State Department memoranda, including one entitled, quote, British proposal to organize a coup d'etat in Iran, also offered fresh insights into London's assessment of Iranian politics and the threat, you ready for this, to UK interests that led to the August 1953 coup. Oh, a threat to UK interests. Let's see what they were. In 1952, Winston Churchill's government was desperate to regain control of the Iranian oil industry, which Mr. Mossadegh had nationalized the year before, quote, by virtually any available means, including military action. Isn't that nice? Get the oil back by any means. Oh, the British are so proper with their pinkies in the air and sipping tea, and how everybody loves that piece of crap Churchill, a goddamn murderer, launching a coup against a democratically elected government, a university professor, and people still hate the Iranians. After the United States, the MI6 and the CIA, the UK, and the Americans overthrew this government, slaughtered thousands of innocent people when they brought the Shah in. The Shah, yeah, the head of the peacock throne, to the emperor in this life and for eternity, and all the bullshit that they kept spewing out. And little Jimmy Carter, oh, you little liberals over there, you remember when he went over there on New Year's Eve as the Iranian Revolution was going there, him and Rosalind, to suck up to the Shah? Oh, you forgot that, huh? Read my book, Trend Tracking. I open it up with Carter coming back from Iran after spending New Year's Eve with the Shah and telling the American people that the Shah is the island of stability in the Middle East. Another low-life sellout. Oh, you love those mujahideen, don't you? Oh, no, we call them the Taliban today. Yeah, Jimmy Carter gave you those too. But Americans and most of the world are ignorant to history. They just buy the lies that are being sold. And here they are, sold by the toilet paper record, the New York slime, and the little prostitutes that put out for them. Iran flexes in Afghanistan as U.S. presence wanes. And it goes on. Look at this spread they got here. Mon ami, huh? No evidence, but here's what these little low-life scum, the New York Times, who keeps taking us to war after war. Yeah, you remember they sold us them yellow cakes that Saddam Hussein had, along with putting them in them aluminum tubes to shove them up your you-know-what. Here we go. Iran has conducted an intensifying covert intervention, much of which is only now coming to light. It is providing local Taliban insurgents. Taliban insurgents? Hey, jerk off. The Taliban were running the country. The United States invaded and occupied. They're not insurgents. You is occupiers. But we're going to use that kind of language so you can get to hate the Taliban. Because, hey, I wonder what the Kardashians are doing today. You see Justin Bieber lately? Anyway, local Taliban insurgents with weapons, money, and training. It has offered Taliban commanders sanctuary and fuel for their trucks. It has padded Taliban ranks by recruiting among Afghan Sunni refugees in Iran. And you know who says this? We got the facts right here. According to Afghan and Western officials. That's it. That's the proof. Afghan and Western official assholes. This is what they're selling us. And the people buy it. Story about what the United States has done with the English to Iran never makes the news. Oh, yeah, but them Iranians, they are over there in Syria. That's right. Invited by Assad, duly elected by the people, according to the international observers, when the election was held, as opposed to the United States and the other foreigners that are in a sovereign nation against international law. But those are only the facts. And then finally, on a very important note, hackers post new HBO films and demand a hefty ransom. That's the kind of big news that the toilet paper of record runs, but they ignore that story. So who did it? Who did it? Well, we got the word from the officials, and we'll tell you who did it tomorrow. Because, hey, if you believe them, you'll believe anything. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.